Hello and welcome to another pattern recognition video. I wanted to do another one since I just did one yesterday and it was supposed to be all simplification patterns, but I accidentally threw in some night outpost problems because I had the settings wrong. So today we have at least 10 simplification pattern problems, and pause the video at any time if you need to think longer. I also set the rating level to 500 to 1,000. That way we're working more on patterns and less on calculation. So here, there's a little calculation involved. First, you want to look at the material before you try and simplify down into an end game. We have what? 7 white pawns versus 7 black pawns. 2 minor pieces, so material is even, but we just had a knight jumping forward here, attacking our queen. We need to find a way to simplify down. So instead of just running with the queen, a lot of beginners would think, oh, the queen is under attack, I need to get it to safety. Maybe you would drop back, try and attack that knight. But maybe there's something better. We want to simplify down into a one endgame. So one way we could do that is a counterattack instead. So maybe we take a knight out, and if this knight takes our queen, well then we can capture the queen, and it's a check. So that gives us time to make another move as well. All right, here we go. Let's see if it works. Capture and the capture with check. And that's what they wanted, because now we have 2 bishops versus their lone knight. So we're ahead in material. On to the next problem. All right, we just had a capture here. When you're looking to simplify down, well, first of all, look at how much material both sides have. See, if we're behind in material, then we have to make sure that we gain material in the trades that are coming up here. So we have what, 7 pawns versus 7, 2 minor pieces versus 3. So that could be a problem. But it's our turn. We can take either knight, so that kind of helps us out. All right. Okay. We have different options here, different options. Now always look for checks, captures, and threats in that order. But here, do we even have any checks? I don't see any immediate checks. So now we have to look at captures. Yeah, we could just take this knight, but then that'll give the other knight time to run away. We have to make sure we have a good follow-up. So what if we look at capturing this knight first, with the threat of also capturing the bishop with check, and at the same time we're still attacking this knight with the queen. The only thing is our queen can't move because it's pinned. So even better would be to capture this, and then we threaten to capture the bishop with check and then pick off their unprotected queen. So this is very important in any tactics. And when you're trading down, make sure you look at any pieces that are unprotected, yours or your opponent's. So if we look at the opponent's pieces that are unprotected, you can look at pawns as well, but definitely if there's an unprotected piece. So we have an unprotected knight here, and an unprotected queen here. So if we go ahead and capture the knight here, well, now there's an unprotected bishop, queen, and knight. So I think that's the way to go. So capture, and now that gives us time to knock out the bishop with check and then be able to go after this knight as well. So capture, and then we just end up ahead here by a bishop in the end. And then pawns are even. So we have the extra bishop. That should be enough to win the game. Okay, on to the next problem. The knight has captured. Wait a minute, this one looks a little bit familiar, so you should know what to do now. All right, if you paid attention to the earlier first problem, you'll know exactly what to do here. And I apologize for that. These are random. I just let the chess.com pick whatever puzzles come up in a rating category, and it decided to do one that we've already seen. So hopefully you remember that our queen is under attack. We should just counterattack on their queen. If they take our queen, we take theirs with check. And we'll go ahead in material by doing that. So now we have 2 bishops versus 1 knight. All right, next problem. A knight is under attack. What can we do? Well, before we do anything, let's look at the material and see if anybody's ahead. Okay, we have 6 pawns versus 5, so we have 1 extra pawn. And all right, we already have an extra pawn, 6 versus 5. So we can go ahead and trade down material. If you're ahead in material, you want to trade pieces off. The opponent who's behind in material would like to trade off pawns. So the most forcing move, we don't have any good checks. I mean, our bishop could move here and check, but the king would just capture. There's nothing else very good. Now we could just go ahead, pick off this knight, but then they would pick off our knight. So we pretty much have to move our knight. I'm thinking the best move is that. Taking the bishop, we're also threatening to capture with a check on the king. So do they have any counterplay? That's something else you want to look at. So if we capture, what if they throw in this counterattack? Well, we would be able to capture with check first, and then they would have to deal with that by capturing. That would give us time to capture. Does that work? So, okay, we would be ahead in material. So capture, and they don't even do that. So now we're just ahead by a bishop. All right, well, on to the next one. We have knight capturing on e5 here. So what are our options? We can take the knight. We can take the bishop. If we take the knight, then we're still attacking 2 pieces. So if we take the knight, now we're attacking the other knight. Now, that knight could run and take out the pawn. Okay, before we dig too deep, let's take a look at the material. We have, what, 7 pawns versus 7. 3 minor pieces on each side. All right, so material is all even. So I'm thinking all we have to do is capture one of these pieces and we'll just go ahead and material by doing that. The only problem is to find out what the best capture is. Hmm. Well, if we capture with this pawn, then if they try and save the knight, that gives us time to capture. We capture the bishop. They try to save the knight. Well, then that'll give us time to capture another pawn and break things open a little bit with the king in the center there. So taking the bishop may be best. That's what I'm going to go with. We're going to go after that bishop. Make sure there aren't any checks against our king. I don't see anything crazy. No, they don't like that. So it must be the knight that they want us to capture. But I don't know. With that move, they could just go here. All right. Well, that's what they liked. Either way, you're ahead in material. So, I mean, here the knight is under attack. So the obvious move would be to capture here. Okay, let's move it on. Move on to the next problem. That way we're not lingering on something too long. Okay, with this move, our queen is under attack by knight and rook. So maybe we want to trade down, just start counterattacking and taking pieces off the board. We have to be careful though. So let's look at the material first. We have 5 pawns versus 6, so we're down by a pawn. We have the bishop pair. Okay, we could just move our queen. That might be the simple way to go. Now, if we do that, though, we're just down a pawn. So we need to look for some way to get some type of advantage. If we take the knight, they could take our queen, or sorry, our rook with their queen, delivering check, and we would be forced to capture that. And that would give them time to grab our queen. So in all that mess, did we come out ahead? Let's take a look here. We grab the knight and queen. They get a rook and a queen. Oh, wait a minute. Let's look at that one more time. We capture. If they go here and we go here and then they try and grab our queen, we have this bishop capture. So that makes a difference. So I think it works that way then. All right. Okay, that did work. Now we can take with check, and our bishop has time to capture. And we come out ahead a bishop in that. All right, on to the next one. The battery is created here, lining up on the G2 pawn. But that pawn's well protected at the moment. Okay, if we want to trade material down, what is the best way to do that? Hmm. Okay. Look at all the material on the board. We have 3 pawns versus 3, so material is even. What can we do here? How can we simplify this position down? Well, I don't know. I'm thinking, you know, if we attack the queen and they capture, we could check and then try and pick this off. I don't know, maybe that could be an option. We could take a closer look at that. So if we attack the queen, capture, check, then I guess we could capture with the queen or rook. But they might not play the way we want them to. If we go here, maybe they check our king first. Then we would just move. Huh. So a lot going on. Am I missing something? Do we sacrifice the rook? If we take, queen takes, what do we have after that? Oh, we have to look at all the checks. Okay. Oh, wow. All right. Like I said, make sure you look at all the checks first, and I almost overlooked this. So we could go, we can't go here or we'll just be captured by their queen. But what about this check? So if we go check, if the queen blocks, well, then we can just capture, and then pick off that bishop. So that looks to be the best move. If we go there and the queen is forced to, or excuse me, the king is forced to run over to here, well, now we have this pin of the queen to the king. So maybe our opponent will be forced to capture. Oh, wait, they can't even do that because we're attacking them immediately. So with check. So that looks to be the best move. All right, here we go. So they block, and now we're just going to come out ahead in material here. The extra bishop. All right, well, we have 3 more to go. I hope you're doing well with these problems. Our knight. Huh. Okay. Our knight just checked the king, and instead of capturing, oh, because if it captured, then this is unprotected. All right, so the king runs. So if we look for checks first, do we have any? We can capture their queen with a check, or our knight can capture with a check. Oh, and I think that is the best move because then the rook will be unprotected. Okay, so that hopefully you found that. The knight captures. We're attacking, with checks, so that has to be dealt with. But the defender is lost for this rook when we do that. So there's no way to stop both threats. We're attacking the king with check and knocking out the defense of this rook. So there we go. And now we don't want to just go ahead and take that first because then they could take our queen. So we have to simplify down by capturing, getting rid of the queens, and then we just have this extra rook at the end. They do have a pawn majority over here, but with this rook, we'll be able to stop them, pretty easy, especially once our king starts moving up here towards the center. Okay, two more to go. We just had a capture with check. So the obvious move, well, you don't want to capture there or the rook will take our queen. So, or do we? Because we are also attacking their queen. So maybe we want to trade down. But before we simplify down, let's look at the material. Pawns. We have 5 pawns. They have 7. So we're down by 2 pawns. But we have an extra minor piece. So we have 3 minor pieces versus their 2. So I say we just start trading down. But we have to be careful. If we take their bishop, we have to look for checks. If they go here first, well, then our queen could recapture and escape. So I think it works. Capture the bishop. If they take our queen, we can go ahead, take their queen, and we're also attacking their rook as well. All right, I think that works. And they're not even going to show us anymore. But yes, if we take, now we're ahead by 2 minor pieces. If they capture our queen, we capture their queen. Okay, the final problem. Here we go. Knight has jumped up to c6. What do we want to do here? Look at the material first. We have 6 pawns versus 7. Minor pieces are even. So we're just down a pawn. So we need to find some way to get an advantage. And I think we do have a good way to get an advantage here. So take a look at this position. What would you do? How would you simplify things down? You can look at checks first, then captures, then threats, but what checks does white have? If we go here, the rook could just capture. I don't think we have any good checks, so captures. And that's generally what you want to look at many times in simplifying down into a winning position is capturing, getting material off the board. So we also have this battery lined up here on the bishop, and the queen and knight are defending. So maybe we just knock out that defender. And then we're attacking the bishop with 2 attackers and only 1 defender. So capture. Now they capture. That gives us time to go after. And after the dust has settled, we're ahead. We have an extra knight. So, that should be enough for a win here. And our rooks are ready to double up on that open file. Anyway, it looks pretty good for us. I hope you did well on those 10 problems. Feel free to leave comments, like, and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching and have a super chess day.